So I think everyone who's been on one of these calls has seen this before. This is our 4 stages of the campaign this year. Phase one is done. That was a consultation. We had the overwhelming response. 2/3 of submissions to the relevant commission. 44% of submissions overall to in any policy area were in favour of PR. Phase two is kind of what we're in the middle of, but we're kind of getting into phase three as well. They're kind of overlapping to some extent. I'm going to talk about basically the process around the final stage meeting, sort of what the groups involved in it are, how it works, what it will actually kind of look like on the day or the weekend rather in July, and then kind of come back around to where we are now and give you an update on what basically we think we should be doing right now. So this is the context. This is the Labour National Executive Committee. It's got 38 members and it governs the party. This is the National Policy Forum, and this is what decides the party programme, decides what goes in the draft policy documents that have just come out, and will finalise them in July. As you can see, all of the NEC are also a part of the NPF. So there's a sort of total overlap there. And within that, there's something called the Joint Policy Committee. This is a smaller group. It's made up of representatives both of the NEC and the NPF. And it basically acts as a kind of steering group for the National Policy Forum. So it decides the rules by which the NPF operates, and it makes policy recommendations, things like that. Now, looking at the NPF, this is what the membership is made up of. You've got all of these kind of either directly elected or directly appointed position holders. But then, of course, you've got the entire NEC membership as well. And they themselves are either directly elected or appointed straight to the NEC. Between them, all of these are the seats on the NPF. And the ones we're particularly interested in this moment is really the 55 CLP reps, and there's also 9 CLP reps on the NEC membership. I mean, we're working, and Alex in particular is working with all of these different kinds of member, but those are the ones we as a group here tonight are really focused on. So here's what happens up to the final stage NPF meeting in July. Just yesterday, the policy documents have been circulated, the draft policy on just about every issue. By midday, 29th of May, CLPs are able to submit their final thoughts on those documents. So that could be amendments, it could be just sort of submissions in draft, it could be anything in writing, maximum 600 words. The deadline for NPF reps to actually then submit their amendments is the 5th of June. Each NPF rep can submit up to 5 amendments. It needs a proposer and a seconder, but they've got until 5th of June to send them in. And then in June, that Joint Policy Committee that we looked at a moment ago basically looks at all the amendments, and it decides either to accept them or to refer them for further discussion a bit further down the line at the final stage meeting. The final stage meeting itself is happening 21st to 23rd of July, taking up a whole weekend. Now, at the final stage meeting itself, there's basically 3 main stages to it, although we understand, this may be compressed to some extent depending on the circumstances. But this is basically how it's meant to look. Just some general points, all 209 NPF reps will be in attendance, or at least are entitled to be in attendance, along with staff and advisors. They can nominate a substitute to go if you're not able to go. Trade unions do this very commonly. And wherever possible, decisions are meant to be taken by consensus, but they do have votes where no consensus can be reached, basically. And yeah, it's sometimes been a really smooth process, and sometimes has been quite a bumpy one. It's probably going to be a slightly smoother one this year, but there's history of both. I'm just going to talk a bit about each of these 3 phases. The workshops these are basically sort of informal decisions, informal meetings, where all of the people who submitted amendments on a particular topic can attend, and they'll have a chat with the shadow ministers and various co-conveners and so on, and it just aims to build consensus and reach a shared position. There's no votes taken, no decisions made at those meetings and those workshops. Secondly, the amendment meetings. And these are meetings that take place between the proposer or the seconder of the amendment and the shadow minister and whatever staff they bring with them, which could be quite a lot of staff. You have to be there, otherwise your amendment falls. It's kind of like a conference motion in that sense. And I mean, also kind of like conference, there's going to be people pushing for different wording. If you put a strong amendment forward, the party may want you to agree to table something weaker instead. They may sort of offer that as a compromise. I mean, as with conference, our starting point is we really want to hold the line and just push for what we actually want. We'll get onto what our amendment says in a moment. But the key thing in these amendment meetings is that the decision really has to be mutual if there is going to be another wording put forward. Your amendment sort of can't be taken away from you by the front bench unilaterally or anything like that. If you insist on having your amendment go to a vote at the plenary session, then you can. And these plenary sessions are how the final stage meeting ends, and again aiming for consensus. But this is when everyone comes together and will vote on any outstanding amendments. So where consensus can't be reached, you might have a vote on the original amendment wording. There might be alternative wordings put forward by the party. And depending on how the vote goes, you get different outcomes. If you get a majority of those present, then you get the wording just added to the draft party programme. If you get 35 to 50% voting in favour, then it's what's called an alternative position. And if you get less than 35%, then the amendment falls, unequivocally. Now, the party programme and any alternative positions, if there are any, because that's not at all certain there will be, are then sent forward to conference, and they all have to be ratified or decided on by conference. So if you, for example, get an alternative position put forward, conference can choose to add it into the party programme. It's sort of taken out of the hands of the NPF in that case. So that's the final stage meeting, and basically what we're working towards here. We're now just going to come back to where we find ourselves today. Yesterday, the party published its policy documents. They have been emailed around to position holders. We should be able to drop a link to where you can find the documents in the chat. But you do have to log in as a Labour member. They're not meant for sort of wide public consumption. So as we discussed, CLPs can submit final thoughts by midday 29th of May, and then NPF reps table amendments. We are suggesting basically that we all ask our NPF reps to table an amendment rather than sort of submitting again. Most of our CLPs have already said that we think we need PR. Rather than submitting more sort of evidence or things of that nature, I think the time has come to just send in our draft amendment and say, would you please put this forward, NPF reps? Now, what this actually looks like, if you go to the relevant page of the policy document, you find this text. This is the party's current draft text. And I guess I better read it out. It says, the flaws in the current voting system are contributing to the distrust and alienation we see in politics. There is no consensus for a new system. Any proposed change to our voting system must be carefully thought through. It cannot be dictated by political leaders or forced upon the country from the top down. However, there are some urgent steps that can be taken to restore faith in our democracy. And then it immediately follows on with a commitment to votes at 16, some other policies which are sort of uncontroversial and generally quite good. So this passage in particular is the one that we're concerned with. There's also beyond this paragraph, commitments to Lords reform, devolution and other good stuff, but we're, as ever, focusing on the missing piece. So there's bits we like and there's bits we don't like. We are very happy with the first half of the first sentence, because this is actually more, I think, than the party has ever volunteered in terms of criticising first past the post at this stage in a party programme. So we want to keep that and build on that rather than suggest deleting away the whole thing. But the rest of it, clearly, we don't agree with. The final text that we want to get to, so after our amendment is applied, looks like this. The flaws in the current voting system are contributing to the distrust and alienation we see in politics, and there is widespread consensus across the Labour movement that we must address this in government. Labour believes the House of Commons should better reflect the votes cast by the British people. We will introduce a proportional electoral system for general elections so everyone has a vote that counts. So we're building on the first sentence, and we're turning around the fact that, well, the assertion that there's no consensus for a new system, and pointing out that there is widespread consensus across the Labour movement, that we have to address this. I mean, that is pretty indisputable. We'll see how far we get with it. The second sentence, Labour believes the House of Commons should better reflect the votes. I mean, very few Labour politicians, I think, would openly disagree with it. So it's quite a sort of useful sentence in the sense that it's a very difficult one to deny. And of course, the third one is what we actually want and what we actually will be pushing to be included in the final text. The amendment text, you submit a sort of set of instructions about what to do with the amendment rather than to do with the text, rather than just the fresh text. So the actual amendment looks like this. You don't have to write this down or look at it directly, because we have all of this on the website. If you just go to our homepage, which is now this action page, we've got this box with a email to your CLP secretary, and all you have to do is click copy text. It copies text, you paste it into an email, and it sends the amendment text, but also sends sort of context explaining what you want them to do with the amendment text and where it's meant to go. So hopefully that's all pretty straightforward. So that's the first key action to take. We want everyone to send the amendment text to your CLP secretary with that set of instructions saying, please can you send this to the MPF, who then send it to your MPF representatives. All you have to do is go to the homepage and copy that. The second action we want everyone to take is we have arranged regional MPF lobbying meetings for each of the 11 regions. Dates and times are on our event page, and it's starting with North tomorrow at 6 p.m. I'm just going to go to the event page so you can see this, but you should be able to just visit events and scroll down to whichever your region is and sign up in the usual way. Alex, I'm going to hand over to you to talk a little bit about the regional MPF lobbying meetings.
Thanks, Joe, and lovely to meet everyone on the call. You might not know me yet. I joined the team a couple of months ago as the parliamentary organiser, and you'll probably be seeing a lot more of me because I'm going to be at all these MPF regional lobbying calls. So as Joe says, the first one's tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. And basically it's a chance for you as Labour members to lobby your regional reps and remind them how much you care about PR. So alongside the CLP amendments for each region, which will go to the regional reps, this is a key opportunity for us to put pressure on the regional reps to support PR through this process. And over the last kind of 2 and a bit months, I've done little else but lobby MPs, PPCs and MPF reps, and I'm glad to say we are gradually getting there, but we've definitely still got more work to be done. And yeah, the next kind of month is going to be really important for you all to be involved in, to meet with your regional reps and kind of show them how important it is to local members. And we'll start off by doing a kind of broad presentation about level of support in the local area, and then you'll have a chance to talk with them, and the meeting should last around 45 minutes and they'll all be in the evenings. And as Joe says, they're all on our website. If you'd like to sign up, please do sign up. I think that's about all that you need from me right now, but I'll see you at the calls.
Great, thank you, Alex. Yeah, we're going to be in touch with all of you through various means, I think, to try and encourage, well, with the whole list of supporters, through various means to try and encourage you to take these couple of actions. I know most of you on the call won't need much encouragement, but we want as big a response to both of those things as possible.